Hello, and welcome along to the Deep Dive.
Hi, everyone.
So today, we're diving deep, aren't we?
We are. We're doing a pretty comprehensive exploration, I think, into English vocabulary. And, not just the words themselves, but effective ways to actually learn them.
Right.
We've got a ton of material to get through.
Oh, absolutely. We've pulled together this amazing collection of resources. I mean, it covers, well, everything from like the 600 most common English words.
Like real basics.
And those essential conversational phrases you use every day, right through to the trickier stuff like antonyms, phrasal verbs, everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
But shown in action, which is key.
Context is everything with those.
Totally. Then there's advanced vocabulary, some really beautiful descriptive words.
The ones that just sound nice.
Exactly. Even rhyming slang, which is a bit of fun.
It's a bit of fun, yeah.
Advanced idioms, and even, get this, a really detailed look at vocabulary for the human body.
Wow, okay, that's a lot.
It's a proper treasure trove.
It is indeed. It's a substantial amount of information, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And look, if you're listening to this and thinking, wow, that sounds like a mountain, that's completely understandable. You might feel a bit overwhelmed.
Easily done.
But our goal today really is to be your guides through all this.
Right.
We want to highlight the most important bits, the really valuable stuff, the engaging aspect. Exactly, the nuggets, and give you practical insights, things you can actually use to make your English learning journey, well, better, more effective.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So where do we start? Let's dive into that first resource of the 600 English words for everyday life.
Right.
And the approach here is interesting, isn't it? It's all about absorption, not just memorizing lists.
Yeah, I think that's key. Absorption over rote memorization. It's about letting the language sort of seep in. And what's really effective about this method, I think, is that it encourages more passive learning.
How so?
Well, through repeated exposure. You hear the words, see them used, and gradually they become part of your vocabulary. It feels more natural, maybe less stressful than staring at flashcards for hours.
Yeah, I get that. Less like homework.
Exactly. More like just living with the language.
And to really help with that, there's a free PDF ebook they mentioned.
Yes, the ebook.
Which contains all these words and phrases. That seems like a fantastic tool to have alongside the video itself. You can follow along or review later.
Definitely. Having different formats helps different learners. And what's also quite good is they offer a bonus ebook as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, specifically targeting the B1 to C1 levels. So intermediate to advanced.
Okay, so that's for learners looking to push beyond the basics.
Precisely. It provides that next step, more advanced material for those aiming for a higher level of command.
And getting these ebooks, is it complicated?
No, seems pretty straightforward. They say there's a link in the video description.
Right.
You just pop in your name and email, choose your English level, which is helpful, and join their mailing list.
So you get stuff sent to you.
Yeah, it looks like they send out weekly PDFs, so you get ongoing learning materials. It's a good way to keep the learning consistent.
That makes sense. Providing resources in different ways, like video and ebook, really caters to different learning styles, doesn't it?
It's absolutely key for effective language learning. Some people are auditory learners. They prefer listening.
Like listening to this?
Exactly. Others are visual. They benefit from seeing the words written down, studying lists, making notes.
So this approach covers both bases.
It seems to. It lets you engage with the material in whatever way works best for you.
Okay, good start. Now, before we even get into the words, there's something else they offer right at the beginning, a free vocabulary level test.
Ah, yes. The level test is super important.
Why is it so crucial to know your level?
Well, understanding where you currently stand is fundamental. It's the first step towards setting realistic goals, right? And focusing your learning effort where it's actually needed. You don't want to waste time on stuff you already know or jump into things that are way too advanced.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this test, it helps pinpoint your level.
That's the idea. It's designed to place you on the CEFR scale, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages.
The A1, B2, C1 levels, and so on.
Exactly. All the way from A1 beginner up to C2 proficiency.
And the benefits of taking a test like this seem pretty obvious, I guess.
They are. You get a clear picture of the words you're comfortable with.
Right.
But perhaps even more importantly, you identify the gaps, the areas where you need to expand your vocabulary.
It's like getting a personalized map of your word knowledge.
That's a great way to put it, a map.
Yeah.
By seeing your strengths and weaknesses, you can tailor your learning plan.
Focus your energy.
Precisely. Focus on the areas where you'll see the most progress. And they make it easy. The results get emailed to you, and the questions are designed to be straightforward. It's user-friendly.
Okay, great. So we know about the learning approach, the resources, the test. Let's actually get into the vocabulary itself now.
Let's do it.
The video kicks off with a set of general phrases, things you use in everyday situations. The first one is, what a shame.
Right, what a shame. What's interesting here is the level of disappointment it conveys.
It's not for big tragedies, then.
No, exactly. As the resource points out, it's best for minor inconveniences, small disappointments. Think, you missed the bus, or your friend cancels coffee plans.
Okay, so like, oh, they're at a croissants, what a shame.
Perfect example. Mild regret. You wouldn't use it if, say, you heard someone had a serious accident.
Right, that would sound, well, completely inappropriate, cold even.
Totally. It's all about matching the emotional weight of the phrase to the situation. That's a massive part of fluency, isn't it? Knowing the subtle social rules.
Definitely. It's not just knowing the dictionary definition.
No, it's the context, the feeling, the appropriateness.
Okay, next general phrase. I haven't got a clue.
Classic. Very common, very informal.
Just means I don't know, right?
I really don't know. It adds a bit more emphasis, maybe. You hear native speakers use this constantly in casual chats. Friends, family.
But the speaker in the video makes a good point. Its casualness means it's not always suitable.
Exactly. You probably wouldn't say, I haven't got a clue to your boss if they ask about an important project update.
Might sound a bit unprofessional. Or like you don't care.
Potentially, yeah. In a more formal setting, or when knowledge is expected, you'd probably opt for something like, I'm not sure, but I can find out, or I don't have that information right now.
Makes sense. They also mentioned the slightly older version, I haven't a clue. Do people still say that?
You do hear it occasionally, perhaps more among older generations or in certain regional dialects. It's not wrong, just maybe a little less common now than haven't got.
Language changes, eh?
Constantly evolving. It's a good example of that.
Okay, the third one is something I think we can all relate to using. To cut a long story short.
Aha. Yes. A vital conversational tool.
Why vital?
Well, it signals you're about to skip the boring bits, the unnecessary details, and jump straight to the main point.
Right, often used when you suddenly realize you've been talking for ages.
Exactly. A moment of self-awareness kicks in, like, oops, I'm rambling here.
And they introduce another great phrase there, waffling on.
Yeah, waffling on, meaning talking a lot without saying anything very important or interesting, just kind of rambling aimlessly.
We all know someone who does that.
We probably all do that sometimes. So you say, anyway, to cut a long story short.
Yeah.
And then deliver the conclusion.
The use of anyway there helps smooth the transition, doesn't it?
It does. It signals you're getting back on track after potentially going off on a tangent.
Okay, and the fourth general phrase in this first batch is make up your mind.
Right. Meaning decide. Make a decision.
But it often has a slightly impatient feel to it.
It definitely can, yeah. It often carries that subtle tone of mild frustration, especially if someone is taking absolutely ages to choose something simple.
Like the example they gave with the dog standing in the doorway, dithering about going in or out.
That's a perfect everyday example. You can just imagine saying, slightly exasperated, oh, for goodness sake, make up your mind.
It makes the meaning and the emotion really clear.
That's why relatable examples are so good for learning.
Okay, so those are some really useful general phrases. Now, the video structure moves on to phrases common throughout a typical workday.
Right, broken down into morning, the main workday, and evening, which is a helpful way to organize them.
Let's start with the morning. First up, mind if I grab the last?
Ah, the polite request. Very common in shared spaces like an office kitchen or a shared house.
Mind if I grab the last biscuit? Mind if I grab the last tea bag?
Exactly. It's asking for permission for the final item. And the grammatical point they make about ellipsis here is interesting.
Ellipsis. That's leaving words out, right?
Yeah, leaving out words that are understood from the context. So, in mind if I grab the last, we're really saying, do you mind if I grab the last? But we drop the do you.
Makes it more informal. Quicker.
Both. It's a natural feature of spoken English, makes it flow better in conversation.
Got it. Next morning phrase, I've got a dash, or just got a dash.
Meaning, I have to leave quickly.
Usually because you're late, or you have somewhere else to be urgently.
Precisely. You need to hurry. And although it's listed under morning, you could absolutely use this any time of day. Sorry, can't chat, gotta dash.
True. Okay, third one for the morning. Let's get a move on, or let's get going.
These are about encouraging someone else to hurry up.
Come on, kids, let's get a move on. We'll be late for school.
Exactly that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But the speaker makes a really crucial point about politeness here.
Yeah. What's that?
That while they're not exactly rude, they can sound a bit impatient, a little pushy maybe.
Ah, okay. So you'd use them with people you know well. Family, close friends.
Probably, yes. In situations where that slight impatience is acceptable. But you might want to be careful using let's get a move on with, say, a senior colleague or someone you don't know well. It could come across as slightly demanding.
It's all about that social nuance again, isn't it? Understanding the subtle implications.
It really is. That's what helps you navigate social interactions smoothly.
Okay, let's move into the main part of the day. Phrases used during the workday. First one, let's get cracking.
This is offered as a more energetic, more interesting way to say, let's start.
Yeah, let's start is a bit plain. Let's get cracking sounds more enthusiastic, like you're eager to begin.
It implies a readiness to get stuck into the work. Definitely more engaging.
Following that, a phrase many of us can probably relate to. I've got back-to-back meetings today.
Oh, yes. The dreaded back-to-backs.
It just means one meeting straight after another with no break.
That's exactly it. A continuous series.
Yeah.
The video gives other examples too, like back-to-back presentations, classes, filming sessions.
So it's applicable across lots of different jobs and situations.
Very much so. A common feature of modern busy schedules, unfortunately.
Number 10 on their list is, I am up to my ears.
This is a great idiom. Means I'm very, very busy.
Like you're drowning in work.
That's the image, yeah. And the video rightly points out it's usually short for I'm up to my ears in work, but we often just say I'm up to my ears.
Is it formal or informal?
Generally informal. Fine for chatting with colleagues, maybe a text message, sorry, can't talk now, up to my ears, but probably not something you'd write in a formal report to the CEO.
Good distinction.
Okay.
Next, a real classic. It's not my cup of tea.
The quintessential British idiom.
Meaning you just don't like something or don't enjoy it.
Exactly. And it's often seen as a more polite, more indirect way to express dislike.
Rather than just saying, I hate it, or that's terrible.
Precisely. It softens the rejection. You know, opera. Not really my cup of tea. It's gentle.
It's funny how culture shapes these expressions. Phrase number 12. That's the last straw.
This one implies you've reached your limit.
Like, there's been a series of annoying things happening.
Right. A buildup of irritations. And then one final thing happens, maybe something quite small in itself, but it's the one that makes you lose your patience completely.
Okay, the printer jamming again. That's the last straw.
Perfect. You've had enough.
Then we have a nice short one. I'm easy.
Meaning, I don't have a strong preference.
Like, where should we go for lunch? Oh, I'm easy, wherever you fancy.
Exactly. It shows you're flexible, happy to go along with others' choices, no strong opinion on the matter.
Following that, two related to luck. Fingers crossed and touch wood.
Right. Fingers crossed is both a physical gesture crossing your index and middle fingers.
Like this?
Yeah. And the phrase itself, it expresses hope for good luck in the future. Hope I get the job. Fingers crossed.
And touch wood. Or some people say knock on wood.
Same idea, different regions. It's used to try and prevent bad luck after you've said something positive or hopeful.
So like, the project is going really well so far. Touch wood. You say it to avoid jinxing it.
That's the superstition, yes. These are deeply ingrained cultural habits expressed through language and actions.
Fascinating. Okay, number 15. It's early days.
This means it's too soon to know the outcome of something.
Like, a new project has just started, or a new relationship.
Exactly. The situation is still in its initial stages. It's premature to make any firm judgments or predictions about how it will turn out. How's the new business going? Well, it's early days yet, but promising.
Got it. Okay, finally for the workday section, we move into evening phrases. First is, I'm off, or off you go.
Right. I'm off is simple, casual. It's how you announce you're leaving. Right. I'm off now. See you tomorrow.
And off you go.
That's what you say when telling someone else they can or should leave. But context is important.
How so?
You'd usually say it to someone in a more junior position or a child or someone you know very well. Okay, your taxi's here. Off you go. It can sound a bit dismissive if used inappropriately.
Good point. Next, the very relatable sigh. It's been a long day.
Yes. Universal statement of tiredness after a demanding day.
Often implies you're ready to just Shop. Relax. Go home.
Absolutely. It signals the end of effort for the day.
And the final evening phrases are all ways to say you're going to bed. There are quite a few.
There are. I'm going to hit the hay.
That's quite informal. Right?
Very informal, yeah.
Right.
Then I'm off to bed, which is pretty standard.
I'm going to turn in. Is that common?
A little less common now, perhaps slightly older-fashioned, but perfectly understandable. Means the same thing.
And the most straightforward, I'm going to bed.
Can't get clearer than that. The variety just shows how common the activity is and the different levels of formality or idiom we use.
And there was one bonus phrase snuck in at the end there. It slipped my mind.
Yes. Meaning, I forgot.
But it sounds softer, more polite?
Exactly. As the speaker notes, it implies the forgetting was unintentional. Maybe you were busy, distracted. It just slipped away. It sounds less like you deliberately ignored something.
Oh dear, I was meant to call you back. It completely slipped my mind.
Perfect. A gentler way to admit you forgot.
Okay, that wraps up the everyday phrases linked to the Workday structure. Now let's shift to the next set. 25 phrases specifically for daily conversational use.
Right. This is all about interaction, how we talk to other people.
Super important for sounding natural and confident.
Absolutely. It covers everything from meeting people, starting chats, keeping them going, and crucially, ending them politely.
Let's start with meeting people. First, if you already know them or at least recognize them, nice to bump into you.
Yeah, the key here is bump into, meaning to meet unexpectedly.
Right. Not literally crashing into them.
No. Just seeing someone you know, perhaps at the supermarket or on the street when you weren't planning to. It's felt friendly, casual.
Okay. And for a first-time meeting?
The classics. It's a pleasure to meet you.
That sounds quite formal.
It is, yes. Good for business introductions or more formal social events. Slightly more relaxed is lovely to meet you.
Still polite, but a bit warmer.
Exactly. Both are standard ways to respond when introduced to someone new. They convey respect, make a good first impression.
What if you're not sure if you've met before? That awkward moment.
Happens all the time. A good, polite way to handle it is, I don't think we've met before.
Followed by introducing yourself. I'm your name.
Precisely. It addresses the uncertainty directly but politely and opens the door for proper introductions without making assumptions.
Okay, so you've met them. How do you actually start a conversation? We've got the basic greetings. How's it going? And how are you?
Your standard go-to openers, how's it going, is generally a bit more informal.
Often used between people who already know each other a bit?
Yeah. How are you is maybe slightly more formal, but still incredibly common in almost any social setting. You can't really go wrong with either.
What if you want to ask for updates? Find out what's been happening in their life.
A simple way is just what's new.
Casual, friendly. Asks about recent news or developments since you last spoke.
Exactly. Another, perhaps slightly more personal and casual option is, what have you been up to?
Now, the speaker mentioned being up to something can sometimes sound a bit suspicious, like you're up to no good.
It can have that connotation sometimes, yeah. Like kids being suspiciously quiet, what are they up to? But the question, what have you been up to, itself is generally just warm and friendly.
Especially with people you know well.
Definitely. Friends, family, even kids. And the suggested responses are useful too. Nah, much. Or, oh, I've not been up to much. Standard, slightly self-deprecating replies.
Okay, what if it's been ages since you saw someone? You want the full update.
You could try. What have I missed? Fill me in.
Fill me in. That's a phrasal verb, right? Meaning, tell me the details I don't know.
Exactly. It's a direct, friendly request for all the news you've missed out on.
A related phrase is, we've got so much to catch up on.
Yeah, that acknowledges the time gap. It signals there's probably a lot to talk about and sets the expectation for a longer conversation.
But sometimes you know there's a lot to say, but now isn't the right time.
Right. For that situation, you could use, there's so much to say, but I can't go into it now.
Go into it, meaning discuss it in detail.
Precisely. It postpones the detailed discussion politely. You're acknowledging the need for a longer chat, but deferring it. The video also mentions the idiom, to have something up your sleeve here.
Meaning you have a secret plan or surprise.
Yeah, in this context, it's used slightly figuratively, like you're holding back the details for a more appropriate time. I'll tell you all about it later.
Okay, so we've met them, started talking. How about getting to know new people better?
The key advice here is asking good, open-ended questions.
Why open-ended? What does that mean?
Open-ended questions are ones that can't be answered with a simple yes or no. They require a more detailed response.
So not, do you like your job? But
Exactly. Instead, ask, how did you get into your line of work? Or what do you enjoy most about your job? Or away from work, what sort of things do you enjoy doing in your free time? Or what are your hobbies?
and these encourage longer answers. Keep the conversation flowing.
That's the idea. They invite the other person to share more about themselves, their experiences, their interests. It helps you find common ground and learn more about them.
Makes sense. Now, arguably just as tricky as starting a conversation is ending one politely.
Aha! Yes, the great escape. The speaker in the video even admits finding this difficult sometimes.
Me too. So what are the strategies? First, if you're short on time, oh, I'm a bit pressed for time.
Very gentle, very polite. It signals you need to leave soon without being abrupt. Pressed for time just means you don't have much time available.
Okay. Another option, especially noted as a UK thing, often with a little gesture.
Ah, yes, the hand clap or the thigh slap.
Right. I need to make a move. I have definitely seen people do that slap. What's that about?
It's very culturally specific to Britain, I think. The gesture just adds a bit of punctuation and emphasis to the decision to leave. To make a move simply means to start leaving. The gesture makes it feel final somehow.
Okay. Similar phrases are, I'm going to have to get going, or I need to get going. How are they different from make a move?
These ones, especially with have to or need to, imply more of an obligation.
Like something external is forcing you to leave. Another appointment, needing to pick up the kids.
Exactly. They suggest it's not just your preference, but a necessity. I need to make a move is perhaps a little more general, just stating your intention to depart.
Then there's that fascinating, slightly manipulative phrase the speaker learned. I don't want to hog you, so I'm going to go over here. Hog you.
Yeah, to hog something means to keep it all for yourself, preventing others from using or enjoying it, like hogging the remote control.
So here, you're pretending the person you're talking to is so popular that you leaving is actually doing them a favor, letting others talk to them.
That's the clever, slightly manipulative twist. As the speaker called it, it's a bit of reverse psychology. You frame your departure as being considerate of their time and popularity.
Sneaky,
But polite.
very polite on the surface.
And the final exit line discussed is, I've already taken so much of your time.
This is another very considerate sounding option. It frames it as you being mindful of their time, suggesting you don't want to impose any further.
Exactly. It's a courteous way to signal the end of the conversation by implicitly thanking them for the time they've already given you.
Wow. Those are some incredibly useful tools for navigating everyday chats. Really practical stuff.
Definitely. Mastering these kinds of functional phrases makes a huge difference to conversational fluency.
Okay, let's shift focus now. We're moving from conversational strategies to something more foundational. The 100 most common English words.
Right, back to basics, but incredibly important basics.
It's actually quite surprising, isn't it, how much of the language these core words make up, given how many words there are in total.
It really is. The video mentions estimates of over 170,000 words in current English use, which is just vast.
But the average native speaker only uses a fraction of that.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in the range of 15,000 to 20,000 words actively. But even that sounds like a lot to learn.
It does. But here's the kicker. The claim is that these top 100 most frequent words, they account for about 50% of all spoken and written English.
Half. That's staggering when you think about it.
It really underscores their importance, doesn't it? If you master these 100, you've got a handle on half the language you'll encounter.
Absolutely. It highlights the power of frequency in language learning. Focusing on these core building blocks gives you a massive advantage in both understanding and expressing yourself.
And the video's approach is logical, breaking them down by parts of speech. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, etc.
Yeah, that helps understand their function, how they fit together in sentences.
And it's not just about knowing the word, is it? They also focus on pronunciation.
Crucially, yes. Including those tricky, weak and strong forms.
Right. Why are they so important? Weak and strong forms.
Well, many common function words, auxiliaries, prepositions, articles have two pronunciations. A strong form when stressed and a weak, often reduced form when unstressed, which is most of the time in connected speech.
Like the word can. You might say, yes, I can, strong, but I can go tomorrow. Weak sounds like KN.
Exactly that. Understanding these weak forms is vital for listening comprehension because native speakers use them constantly. And using them yourself makes your own spoken English sound much more natural and fluent.
Okay. And they also provide usage examples for context.
which is essential. Seeing the word in a sentence helps solidify its meaning and usage.
Right, let's just quickly run through some examples from each category, just to get a feel for what these 100 words are like. Starting with nouns.
Very fundamental concepts. Man, day, people, time, woman, life, world, thing, year, child. Core entities we talk about constantly.
Pronouns. The words that replace nouns. A big category.
It is. Covers personal pronouns. He, him, his, she, her, imemi, itits, wusor, they, along, there. Also demonstratives like that, these, this, the question word who, and the essential you, your. All crucial for avoiding repetition.
Verbs, the action words. Again, very basic but essential ones.
Yeah, verbs like come, find, give, get, go, have, no, listen, look, make, say, see, tell, think, use, want. You simply can't build sentences without these.
Auxiliary verbs, the helping verbs.
Essential for grammar. All the forms of be being been, the modal verbs like can, could, shall, might, must, should, would, will, and the forms of do, does, did. They help form tenses, questions, negatives, express possibility, obligation, fundamental stuff.
Adjectives, the describing words.
Common ones here include all, any, different, even, first, just, last, white, many, more, new, one, some, two, words we use constantly to add detail.
Adverbs, modifying verbs, adjectives, other adverbs.
The list here includes common ones like also, here, how, no, not so, then, very, when. Interestingly, many common adverbs don't end in lockly.
Conjunctions, the joining words.
The real glue of sentences, and because, but, if, or then. Essential for linking ideas and creating more complex thoughts.
Prepositions showing relationships, often location or time.
Tiny words, huge importance, about, at, by, for, from, in, into, onto, with. They structure our sentences.
And finally, articles. Just 3 words, but maybe the most common of all.
Definitely up there. The indefinite articles a and an, and the definite article the. Absolutely essential for specifying nouns.
Wow, so mastering those 100, paying attention to pronunciation, weak forms, usage. That's a huge step toward fluency.
It truly is. It provides the bedrock upon which you can build the rest of your vocabulary.
Okay, fantastic. Now let's move on to another really smart way to expand vocabulary. Learning antonyms.
Ah, yes, opposites.
It feels efficient, doesn't it? Learn one word, get its opposite almost for free. It sort of doubles your learning.
That's a great way to think about it. You learn 2 words, and you deepen your understanding of both by seeing them in contrast. It highlights the nuances of meaning.
And the video organizes these by proficiency level, again, B1, B2, C1.
Which is helpful. It provides a clear path of progression. You start with more common opposites and move towards more subtle or complex ones.
Something important they point out, though, is that a word can often have more than one antonym.
Absolutely critical point. It's not always a simple one-to-one relationship. The choice of antonym depends on the specific shade of meaning you want to contrast.
Let's look at some examples, starting at the B1 intermediate level. First pair. Grateful and unappreciative.
Okay. Grateful is feeling or showing thanks. Unappreciative is not showing thanks or not valuing something.
You also mentioned unthankful earlier. Is unappreciative different?
Subtly, yes. Unthankful is maybe more focused on the lack of expressing thanks. Unappreciative can also imply a failure to recognize the value or effort involved in something, not just forgetting to say thank you.
Okay. Slight nuance. Next B1 pair. Amazed and unimpressed. That seems pretty clear-cut.
It is fairly straightforward. Amazed is feeling great surprise or wonder. Unimpressed is feeling no admiration, interest, or respect. Total opposites on the reaction scale.
Then we have cheerful and grumpy. Mood opposites.
Yeah, happy and optimistic versus bad-tempered and sulky. We all know both ends of that spectrum.
Private and public, relating to access.
Intended for just one person or group versus open to everyone. A fundamental distinction.
Textures. Rough and smooth.
Uneven surface versus an even regular surface. Simple, practical opposites.
Ability or suitability. Qualified versus incompetent or unfit. 2 antonyms here.
Good example of multiple opposites. Incompetent strongly suggests a lack of the necessary skill or ability to do something successfully. Unfit might be broader. Maybe they have the skills but aren't suitable for the role for other reasons, personality, health, etc. Or it could also mean incompetent. Context matters.
Okay, how interesting something is. Fascinating and dull.
Extremely interesting versus boring and uninteresting. Clear contrast again.
Personality traits. Shy and outgoing.
Reserved and nervous in company versus sociable and confident. A common personality dimension.
Complexity. Basic and elaborate.
Simple and fundamental versus detailed, complex, often ornate.
Feelings about oneself. Proud and humble. These can be tricky.
They can. Proud here meaning feeling satisfaction from one's achievements, though it can also mean arrogant. Humble means having a modest view of one's own importance, not boasting.
Courage. Brave and cowardly. Strong opposites.
Very direct. Facing danger versus lacking courage and being easily scared.
Generosity. Generous and selfish.
Willing to give and share versus concerned only with oneself. A core character contrast.
Clarity. Obvious and unclear.
Easily understood versus ambiguous or difficult to understand. Important for communication.
State of mind. Calm versus frenzied or agitated. Again, multiple antonyms.
Right. Frenzied implies wild, uncontrolled activity or excitement. Agitated suggests nervous, anxious energy. Both are opposites of calm, but describe different kinds of non-calm states.
Normality. Standard and unconventional.
Conforming to the usual versus not following the usual path. Unconventional often implies being a bit different or creative.
Physical states. Tight and loose. Very practical.
Held firmly versus not fitting closely. Useful for clothes, knots, lids, lots of things.
And the last be one example. Confident and uncertain. Belief in oneself.
Feeling sure of yourself versus having doubts or not being sure. Another key aspect of personality and feeling.
Okay, moving up a level to B2, upper intermediate, first pair, aggressive and passive. How you assert yourself.
Yeah. Forceful, sometimes hostile approach versus accepting things without resistance. Opposite ends of the assertiveness spectrum.
Feelings, anxious and relaxed, common states.
Feeling worried or nervous versus feeling free from tension. We fluctuate between these.
Honesty, dishonest and truthful, fundamental.
Deceitful versus honest and sincere. Pretty black and white.
Understanding, confusing and straightforward.
Difficult to understand versus easy and direct. We usually prefer straightforward.
Style or manner. Dramatic versus understated or mundane. A range here.
Exactly. Dramatic is exaggerated, attention-grabbing. Understated is subtle, low-key. Mundane is just ordinary, boring, everyday. So different ways to be the opposite of dramatic.
Causing offense. Offensive versus inoffensive or pleasant.
Offensive causes hurt or displeasure. Inoffensive simply doesn't cause offense. Pleasant goes further and is actually nice or agreeable. Again, nuance is in the opposition.
Hope. Desperate and hopeful. Strong emotions.
Feeling a hopeless need versus feeling optimistic about the future. Polar opposites in outlook.
Physical stability, steady, and shaky.
Firmly fixed versus trembling or unstable, like steady hands versus shaky hands.
Accuracy. Accurate versus incorrect or erroneous. What's the difference between incorrect and erroneous?
Good question. Incorrect is the general term for not being right, factually wrong. Erroneous often implies that the inaccuracy is due to a mistake or an error in reasoning or calculation. It suggests how it became incorrect.
Okay. Outlook. Optimistic versus pessimistic or negative.
Expecting the best versus expecting the worst, pessimistic, or just generally focusing on the bad aspects, negative.
Humility again. Modest versus arrogant or pretentious.
Modest is not boasting. Arrogant is having an exaggerated sense of self-importance. Pretentious is trying to seem more important or clever than you are. Related, but distinct, opposites of modest.
Duration. Temporary versus permanent or enduring.
Lasting a short time, temporary versus lasting forever, or indefinitely permanent, or simply lasting a long time, enduring, different timescales.
And sincerity. Sincere and disingenuous.
Genuine feelings versus pretending to be less knowledgeable or more innocent than you are, not straightforward. Basically, fake sincerity.
Okay, that covers B2. Now, C1 advanced level. The video shows a much longer list here.
It really does. It visually demonstrates the huge expansion of vocabulary needed for advanced proficiency.
We obviously can't go through every single pair from the C1 list. There must be hundreds shown.
No, we'd be here all day. But the sheer volume and the types of words are telling.
What kind of concepts are covered?
Oh, all sorts. Things like skeptical versus credulous trusting, how easily you believe things. Hasty versus deliberate cautious, how quickly you act. Resilient versus vulnerable, how well you cope with difficulty. Candid versus deceptive, how honest and direct you are.
Wow, okay. More complex ideas.
Exactly. Also things like infallible versus unreliable, imperfect. making mistakes. Coherent versus rambling, making sense when speaking, writing. Conspicuous versus inconspicuous, easily noticed or not. Compulsory versus optional, voluntary. Constructive versus destructive. Conventional versus innovative. Cooperative versus obstructive. It goes on and on.
And many still have multiple antonyms.
Very often at this level, yes, it reflects the need for greater precision. Take eager, its opposites could be apathetic, showing no interest, or indifferent, having no particular interest or sympathy. It's similar, but not quite the same, lack of enthusiasm. Or overwhelming versus manageable, trivial versus significant, persistent versus inconsistent or sporadic, abundant versus scarce.
The list seems endless. Apparent versus obscure, appropriate versus inappropriate, artificial versus genuine, assertive versus submissive, beneficial versus detrimental, bizarre versus ordinary.
Civil versus rude, compatible versus incompatible, competent versus inept, complex versus straightforward, concise versus verbose, confident versus diffident, conscious versus oblivious, consistent versus erratic, constant versus intermittent, crucial versus trivial. You see the pattern.
It really drives home how rich the language becomes at C1, C2 level. It's not just more words, but words for much finer distinctions in meaning.
Absolutely. This whole section on antonyms, especially seeing the sheer scale of the C1 list, is a fantastic resource. It hammers home that vocabulary learning isn't just about memorizing isolated words.
It's about building a network, understanding relationships between words.
Exactly. Seeing how words relate, contrast, and complement each other. That's where deep understanding comes from.
Okay, that was an incredibly thorough look at antonyms. Let's switch gears now to something learners often find tricky: phrasal verbs.
Yes, the infamous phrasal verbs. Verb plus particle combinations.
And the resource uses short stories to teach 50 of them in context. Why is context so important for phrasal verbs?
Because their meaning is often idiomatic. It's usually completely different from the meaning of the main verb on its own. Look means one thing, but look up, look after, look forward to mean totally different things.
So just memorizing look up, search for information, isn't always enough.
It helps, but seeing how it's used in a sentence, in a situation, makes it stick much better. Context provides clues and anchors the meaning. Learning them through stories makes it more engaging and memorable than just a dry list.
Makes sense. So the first story is about a waiter's first day. What kind of phrasal verbs come up there?
Things relevant to that situation, like look up, maybe looking up an order or a price, break down, the coffee machine could break down, getting off the bus to go to work, shoot off, leaving quickly at the end of a shift maybe.
Right.
Also, calm down if he's nervous. Getting on with his tasks. Maybe he comes across a lost wallet. Looking after the customers. Accidentally knocking over a drink. And turning on equipment. See how the story provides natural scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes them easy to visualize. Story 2 is Arthur's tea shop.
Right, focusing on starting and running a small business. So you get verbs like set up, establishing the business. Whip up, preparing food quickly, like cakes. Turn down. Maybe his loan application gets turned down. Work out, hoping the business will work out successfully.
Or maybe he has to give up.
Hopefully not. But yeah, give up, stop trying. Also, taking on staff or a challenge. Dust off, maybe dusting off an old family recipe book. Figuring out problems.
Yeah.
Catching up on paperwork. Tell off, maybe telling off a lazy employee. And the very British, faff about.
What's faff about?
It means to waste time doing unimportant things, being disorganized, not getting on with what you should be doing. Stop faffing about and make the tea.
Huh. Okay, story 3 is about a violinist's dream.
This one brings in verbs related to aspirations, influences, time-passing decisions, like bring up, mentioning a topic in conversation, rub off on or onto when someone's quality or habit starts affecting you.
Like her passion for music rubbed off on her friends.
Exactly. Also, go by. Time goes by. Cutting back on expenses to save for a new violin, let down, being disappointed by someone or something, call off, canceling a performance, sort out, resolving a problem, look forward to, anticipating something positive, pay off when effort leads to success, and turn out how things result in the end.
You can see the narrative arc there. Story 4, Tom and Elizabeth's relationship.
Relationships. Fertile ground for phrasal verbs. Fall apart if the relationship fails. Make up. Reconciling after an argument. Come up with thinking of an idea, maybe for a date. Insist on demanding something. Take back, retracting something hurtful you said.
Or taking back an ex-partner.
Could mean that too. Context dependent. also turn into maybe a small disagreement turns into a big argument. Brush off, dismissing someone's concerns. Cheer up, trying to make someone happier. Grow on when you start to like someone or something more over time. And move on, getting over a relationship or difficulty.
Lots of emotional stuff there. And the fifth story, Diego and Alonso's antics, seems to have a load of verbs.
It does. It seems to cover more everyday, maybe family-oriented actions. Get up to what mischievous things are they doing? Muck about, playing around, behaving foolishly, similar to faff about, maybe more playful. Tell off, getting scolded again. Tidy up, obvious meaning. Put away, putting toys or clothes in their proper place. Eat up, finish your food.
Very parental.
Nod off, falling asleep for a short time, maybe in front of the TV. Wake up. Chase after pursuing someone or something, run away, escaping, wear out, things like shoes getting worn out from use or kids wearing out their parents.
Both work.
Also, drop off, delivering someone, like kids at school. Pick up, collecting them later. Rely on, depending on someone. Look forward to, again, anticipation. Take after, resembling a parent or older relative in looks or character. Get along with, having a good relationship. Show off, trying to impress people, tag along, accompanying someone, perhaps uninvited, turn up, arriving, often unexpectedly, and fill someone in, giving someone missing information, bringing them up to date.
Phew. That's a lot in one story. But seeing them used like that in these little narratives, it definitely feels more effective.
Much more effective than just a list of verb plus particle plus definition. The context clarifies the meaning and makes it much easier to remember and hopefully use correctly. It connects the language to situations.
Absolutely. Okay, next up in our deep dive, we've got another set of useful phrases, 17 of them introduced through one story this time. Will's birthday surprise.
Right, another narrative approach, using one continuous story to showcase multiple phrases in a natural conversational flow. It's a clever technique.
The first phrase is, get something off the ground, meaning
to make something start happening or succeed, especially a project or a plan. The example was about having ideas but struggling to actually initiate them, to get them off the ground.
like launching a rocket, almost. Getting it started.
Kind of that image, yeah. Overcoming the initial inertia.
Okay, then these enthusiastic response. Best idea ever. What's the point here?
It's about how we sometimes drop the definite article, the before superlatives, best, worst, funniest, in informal spoken English, especially when expressing strong emotion.
So instead of, that's the best idea ever, just best idea ever, sounds more spontaneous.
Exactly, more immediate, less grammatically perfect, but very natural in conversation.
Then we have the classic structure for giving advice. If I were you, I.
Textbook second conditional, isn't it?
Yep, used for hypothetical situations. Imagining yourself in someone else's position to offer advice. If I were you, I wouldn't wear that shirt. That kind of thing.
Perfect example. Very common way to make suggestions.
Now this one's subtle. They were all, or he was all, described as spoken English for strong feelings, but maybe hinting at insincerity.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's often used to report someone's strong reaction or speech, like, I told him the news, and he was all, no way.
Okay.
But sometimes the way it's used, or the context, can imply that the reaction seemed a bit exaggerated, over the top, maybe not entirely genuine.
Like the example of the story where Jerry was all enthusiastic about the party but then didn't even show up?
Exactly. Her being all enthusiastic in retrospect seems potentially insincere because her actions didn't match. It's a nuance of spoken storytelling.
Interesting. Next. You're in for a treat.
It usually means something good is coming your way, something you'll enjoy.
But it can be sarcastic.
Oh, definitely. Tone of voice is everything here. Oh, you've got a double maths lesson next. You're in for a treat, said sarcastically, of course. Context and tone tell you if it's genuine or not.
Right. Now, the very British way of saying no politely, I don't know about that, or I'm not so sure about that.
Yes, the art of indirectness. In British culture, direct disagreement can sometimes be seen as impolite.
So this is a softer way to say I don't agree, or that's not a good idea.
Precisely. It expresses doubt or disagreement without a blunt no. Very common.
And often followed by, let me have a think, which can also mean no.
Often, yes. It's another polite stalling tactic or a gentle refusal. It sounds considerate, I need time to consider this, but frequently it's just a way to avoid saying no immediately. It buys time or hopes the issue goes away.
The complexities of British politeness, okay, a more straightforward idiom, get the ball rolling or start the ball rolling.
Just means to make something begin, to initiate action on a project or task, very common in work contexts. Okay, let's get the ball rolling on this report.
Simple invitation phrase. Are you free on day?
Standard, direct way to check availability. Can't go wrong with that.
Another invitation, maybe more British. Do you fancy doing something?
Yeah, using fancy as a verb meaning want or would like is very common in British English. Do you fancy going for a drink later? Do you fancy pizza tonight?
Okay. The story also mentioned shortening big birthdays, like Will's 30th instead of Will's 30th birthday.
Just a small point, but a common informal shortcut for those milestone birthdays, 18th, 21st, 30th, 40th, and so on. Good to be aware of.
Describing heavy rain, pouring down.
Very vivid, very common, paints a clear picture of intense rain.
Expressing extreme disappointment. Absolutely gutted. Gutted sounds quite strong.
It is. It's informal but powerful. It means extremely disappointed, devastated, upset. Adding absolutely just intensifies it further. I was absolutely gutted when my team lost.
A nicer phrase. Made my day.
Lovely expression. Means something someone did or said made you feel very happy. Your compliment really made my day.
Expressing gratitude for a favor. Owe you one.
Common way to say thank you and acknowledge that you'll return the favor in the future. Thanks for lending me that book. I owe you one. Implies a debt of goodwill.
Reminding someone to consider something. Bear in mind.
Very useful. Means remember this important point or take this into account. Bear in mind the deadline is tomorrow.
Describing something fantastic, out of this world.
High praise means amazing, exceptional, wonderful. That meal was out of this world.
And stopping an activity. Call it a night or call it a day. Are they interchangeable?
Largely yes in modern usage. Originally, call it a day might have been more for finishing work and call it a night for ending evening social activities. But now people often use them interchangeably, especially if work finishes late. Right? It's 10 p.m., let's call it a day night. Just means let's stop now.
And the last one from this story. A lie down, or needing to have a need to lie down. Literal and metaphorical.
Exactly. Literally, it just means to rest, to recline. I'm feeling tired, I need to lie down. But metaphorically, it's often used humorously after hearing shocking news or having a stressful experience. He wants how much for that car? I need to lie down. Expresses shock or being overwhelmed.
That's a really great collection, all wrapped up in one story. Very effective.
It works well, doesn't it? Seeing them used naturally together.
Okay, now we're stepping up the difficulty again. 21 advanced words and phrases.
Right, moving into more sophisticated vocabulary.
And they're helpfully categorized again. Lifestyle, well-being, people, and work. Does categorization help learning?
I think so. Grouping words by theme or topic can definitely improve retention. You create mental connections. And it helps you know when to actually use these words in specific contexts.
Okay, let's look at lifestyle and well-being first, at face value.
Meaning to accept something just as it appears, without questioning it or looking for a deeper meaning. The example about not taking nutrition advice at face value is perfect. It means you should be critical, investigate further.
Don't just believe the surface appearance.
Exactly.
To have a crack at something.
Means to try or attempt something. Often implies it might be difficult or you're not sure you'll succeed, but you'll give it a go. I've never baked bread before, but I'll have a crack at it. A bit informal.
To burn the midnight oil. Sounds tiring.
It is. It means working or studying late into the night. Sacrificing sleep, usually for a deadline or exam, evokes that image of old oil lamps burning late.
To strike a balance. Very important for well-being.
Crucial. It means finding a healthy compromise between two competing things. Like striking a balance between work and personal life. Finding that equilibrium.
Let off steam. Releasing pressure.
Precisely. Releasing pent-up emotions like anger, frustration, or stress, often through physical activity or talking. You need an outlet. He went for a run to let off steam after the argument.
To count one's blessings. A nice perspective.
It means to consciously think about and be grateful for the good things in your life, especially when things are difficult. Focusing on the positive.
And to bloom. Metaphorical use.
Yes, a lovely metaphor. Used to describe a person becoming happier, healthier, more confident, really flourishing and reaching their potential, like a flower opening up.
Beautiful. Okay, category 2. People. First, to stick one's neck out. Sounds risky.
It is. It means taking a risk, often by saying or doing something that might be unpopular or attract criticism. You're making yourself vulnerable. She really stuck her neck out for me by defending my proposal.
A knee-jerk reaction.
Like a reflex.
Exactly like a reflex. It's an immediate, automatic response to something, often done without much thought or consideration. Sometimes negative, implying you didn't think it through.
To split hairs.
Right.
arguing about tiny details.
Yes, arguing about very small, insignificant differences. Often implies being overly pedantic or missing the bigger picture. They were splitting hairs over the exact wording instead of agreeing on the main point.
Pecking order. Hierarchy.
Yep. The social hierarchy within a group who's dominant, who's subordinate, comes from observing chickens. Applies to workplaces, families, social groups.
The adjective shrewd. Clever, but maybe a bit cunning.
It means clever, having good judgment, especially in practical or business matters. It does sometimes imply astuteness that might border on cunning, being able to see advantages others miss.
Obstinate, meaning stubborn. Very stubborn. Refusing to change your opinion or actions despite attempts to persuade you, and they contrast it with abstinent.
Which sounds similar but means totally different.
Completely different. Abstinent means refraining from something, usually alcohol or sex. Obstinate is about being stubborn. Easy to confuse the sound, so good to clarify.
And placid, meaning calm.
Calm, peaceful, not easily upset or excited, describes a calm temperament in a person or animal. A placid lake, a placid personality.
Okay, final advanced category. Work. First, to pull some strings. Using connections.
Yes, using your influence or connections, often behind the scenes, to make something happen. It sometimes implies getting an unfair advantage. He pulled some strings to get his son the job.
To have a field day, taking advantage.
It means to thoroughly enjoy exploiting a situation, often finding lots of opportunities for criticism, gain, or amusement, sometimes at someone else's expense. The newspapers had a field day with the politician's scandal.
To be privy to. Knowing secrets.
Exactly. Having access to confidential or private information that isn't widely known implies being an insider. Only a few managers were privy to the merger plans.
On the back burner. Low priority.
Yep. An idea or project that's been temporarily set aside, not being actively worked on to be dealt with later, we've put that proposal on the back burner for now.
Cushy, meaning easy. Often for jobs.
Yes, cushy, or sometimes spelled cushy, means comfortable, easy, and undemanding. Often implies a job that's pleasant and requires little effort. He landed a cushy job in marketing.
To get your foot in the door, getting an initial opportunity.
That's it. Entering a company or field at a low level, hoping it will lead to better opportunities later, making that first crucial step.
And finally, to go belly up. Business failure.
A very common, rather vivid idiom for a business failing completely, going bankrupt. Like a fish floating belly up. The company went belly up after sales plummeted.
Wow, that's a really useful set of more advanced, nuanced vocabulary. Excellent additions.
Definitely helps you express more complex ideas.
Okay, moving on again. Now we have a list of 20 specific advanced verbs aiming at C1, C2 level.
Right. These verbs allow for much greater precision and sophistication than more common alternatives. Using these correctly really signals an advanced command of English.
Let's run through them. First, advocate.
To publicly support or recommend something, like advocating for human rights or advocating a change in policy.
Amplify. Make stronger or louder.
Yes, literally amplifying sound or figuratively amplifying a message, an effect, or a feeling to increase its impact.
Ascertain. Find out for sure.
Exactly. A formal way to say find out or make certain, often implying careful investigation. We need to ascertain the facts.
Great. Scold strongly.
Yes, to criticize someone angrily and at length, much stronger than just tell off. The manager berated him for losing the client.
Bolster. Support or strengthen.
To reinforce something. Bolster an argument, bolster someone's confidence, bolster defenses.
Corroborate. Confirm evidence.
Yes, to provide evidence that supports or confirms a statement, theory, or finding. Crucial in legal or scientific contexts. Witness testimony corroborated his alibi.
Debunks. Prove something false.
Exactly. To expose the falseness of a myth, idea, or claim. The study debunks the theory that...
Discern. Perceive something subtle.
Yes, to recognize or distinguish something that isn't obvious. It implies insight or good judgment. It was hard to discern the truth in his story.
Disseminate. Spread information.
Yes, to spread information, knowledge, or ideas widely. Disseminating research findings to the public.
Elicit. Draw out a response.
To evoke or draw out a reaction, answer, or information from someone, often subtly or skillfully. The questions were designed to elicit honest answers.
Deface. Erase or wipe out.
To erase a mark or memory or to make oneself inconspicuous can be literal or figurative. Time cannot efface the memory.
Elaborate. Add more detail.
Yes, to explain something more fully, providing more information. Could you elaborate on that point?
Exacerbate. Make something worse.
Precisely. To make a problem, situation, or negative feeling more severe. The opposite of mitigate or alleviate. His angry comments only exacerbated the tension.
Extrapolate. Predict from known data.
To estimate or infer something unknown by projecting from known facts or trends. Common in statistics and forecasting. We can extrapolate future sales based on current growth.
Facilitate. Make easier.
To make an action or process easier or more likely to happen. To help things run smoothly. The new software will facilitate communication.
Galvanize. Shock into action.
Yes, to shock or excite someone into taking sudden action. To stimulate a response. The disaster galvanized the community into helping.
Integrate. Combine into a whole.
To combine different things so they become a unified whole. Integrating different systems, integrating immigrants into society.
Mitigate. Make less severe.
Yes, to lessen the seriousness or impact of something negative. Mitigating risks, mitigating damage.
Perceive. Become aware of or interpret.
To notice, become aware of, or understand something, often through the senses, also means how you interpret or view something. How do you perceive the situation?
Reconcile. Restore harmony or make consistent.
Can mean bringing opposing sides together after a conflict, or making two different ideas, facts, or accounts compatible or consistent. It's hard to reconcile his actions with his words.
And finally, scrutinize. Examine closely.
Yes, to examine something very carefully and thoroughly, often critically, looking for details or flaws. The auditors scrutinize the company's accounts.
Pew. Another powerful list. Using those verbs definitely elevates your English.
Absolutely. They add precision and formality when needed.
Okay, let's shift tone slightly. We're moving from advanced verbs to something more. Aesthetic. 15 beautiful English words.
Yes, words often chosen for how they sound, euphony, or the pleasant or evocative meaning they carry. Language as art.
First is mellifluous. Sounds lovely itself.
It means sweet-sounding, musical, pleasant to hear, often used for voices or music, a mellifluous voice.
Ephemeral, lasting a short time.
Exactly. Fleeting, transient, like the ephemeral beauty of a sunset or a mayfly's life, captures that sense of temporary existence.
Serendipity. A happy accident.
Finding something good or valuable purely by chance when you weren't looking for it. A fortunate discovery. It's a lovely concept.
Ethereal. Delicate and light.
Extremely delicate, light, almost heavenly. Too perfect for this world. Ethereal beauty, ethereal music.
Epiphany. Sudden realization.
That sudden moment of clear understanding or insight. The aha moment when something clicks.
Angst. Deep anxiety.
A strong feeling of anxiety, dread, or inner turmoil, often about life, the world, or one's own existence. A powerful, often philosophical unease.
Euphoria. Intense happiness.
A feeling of intense excitement, happiness, and well-being, often a temporary state of elation.
Cherish. Care for lovingly.
To protect and care for someone or something deeply because you value them highly. I cherish the memories of our time together.
Eternity. Infinite time.
Time without end. A profound concept.
Quintessence. A perfect example.
The most perfect or typical example of a quality or class. The purest form or essence of something. He was the quintessence of cool.
Plethora. A large amount.
A large, even excessive amount of something. An abundance. A plethora of options. It sounds abundant too.
Pristine. Unspoiled. Pure.
In its original perfect condition. Untouched. Clean. Fresh. A pristine beach.
Surreptitiously. Secretively.
Doing something stealthily, trying to avoid being noticed, sneakily. He surreptitiously checked his phone during the meeting.
Dulcet. Sweet sounding.
Like mellifluous.
Very similar, meaning sweet and soothing to the ear. Perhaps implies gentleness even more than mellifluous. Dulcet tones. And docile. Submissive. Easily managed.
Ready to accept control or instruction, easy to handle. Often used for animals, but can describe people too. A docile pony.
Those are lovely words. Using them well adds real elegance.
They do. Adds color and depth.
Okay, now for something completely different and maybe a bit more fun. Rhyming slang and reduplication.
Yeah, this section looks at the playful, creative side of English. How we mess around with sounds.
First, rhyming slang, originating in London.
That's right, particularly the East End. Traditionally thought to be a coded way for criminals to talk, but now mostly used just for humor or local color.
How does it work again?
You take a common word, find a phrase that rhymes with it, and then, often confusingly, you drop the rhyming part of the phrase.
So you're left with something that doesn't rhyme at all.
Exactly. You need to know the original phrase. A famous example is apples and pears, meaning stairs. People then just say up the apples for up the stairs.
Ah, I see. The video gives examples like holy moly is that rhyming slang. Holy moly is more just a rhyming exclamation of surprise. Maybe not classic rhyming slang in the same way, but others fit the pattern better. Like use your loaf means use your head. A loaf of bread goes head.
Okay, what about the examples they gave? Nitty-gritty. That means the essential details, the practical facts. It uses rhyme and reduplication. Itsy-bitsy, or teeny-weeny for very small. Higgledy-piggledy for disorganized, all over the place.
Bee's knees.
Meaning excellent, the best. Probably just a nonsense rhyme that caught on. Okie dokie, informal for okay.
So some are just rhyming pairs, others are more complex slang.
Exactly. And then there's pure rhyming reduplication, where you repeat a word or base but change the first sound.
Like hoity-toity.
Yeah, meaning snobbish or pretentious. Boogie-woogie, a style of blues piano playing and dancing. Fuddy-buddy, an old-fashioned, fussy person. Silly Billy, calling someone childishly silly.
And the speaker warns about tone with silly Billy.
Yeah, said playfully to a child it's fine, but said harshly it could be insulting. Tone matters.
More examples. Hocus pocus, trickery, nonsense magic words, lovey-dovey, excessively affectionate or romantic, helter-skelter, confused, hurried activity, namby-pamby, weak, indecisive, lacking substance, willy-nilly doing things in a disorganized, haphazard way, and jeepers creepers, another exclamation of surprise.
They all have that distinctive, playful, rhythmic quality, don't they?
They do. And rhyming nicknames, too, like Steady Eddie.
For someone reliable. Or Handy Andy for someone good at DIY. Affectionate, memorable.
And finally, the shmri duplication, like fancy schmancy.
Yes. This comes from Yiddish. You repeat the word, but replace the start with shm. It's used to show dismissal, irony, or skepticism.
So, money shmoney, it's not important.
Exactly. Or homework schmork, I'll do it later. It belittles the original word in a humorous, sarcastic way.
Fascinating. Language is so playful sometimes.
It really is. These aren't essential for communication, but they add character and show a deeper familiarity with the culture.
Okay, prepare yourself. We're now diving into a massive list. 111 advanced idioms.
111. Wow. Organized by theme, thankfully.
Yes, that helps. Idioms are crucial, aren't they? For understanding native speakers and sounding natural.
Absolutely essential. They are chunks of language where the meaning isn't literal. You just have to learn them as whole units. Mastering idioms is a huge leap towards fluency.
Let's dip into each theme. First, happiness and excitement. Lots of ways to say you're happy.
Seems so. In seventh heaven, pure bliss. Paint the town red. Go out celebrating wildly. Over the moon, extremely happy or delighted. On cloud nine, same idea, euphoric. On top of the world, feeling great, successful. Have a whale of a time. Enjoy yourself enormously. Have the time of one's life, an exceptionally fun experience. Full of the joys of spring. Very cheerful and energetic. Make one's day. We saw that one. And in raptures, expressing extreme delight.
Very happy set. Next, health.
Some are euphemisms, yeah.
Check the bucket means to die. Very informal. A clean bill of health doctor says you're fine, like death, warmed up, looking extremely ill, as fit as a fiddle, very healthy and strong. Go under the knife, have surgery, have one foot in the grave near death, recharge one's batteries, rest, regain energy, as right as rain, perfectly well or correct, as fresh as a daisy, lively and refreshed, as pale as a ghost death, very pale. A bag of bones, extremely thin.
Covers the whole spectrum. Weather idioms are next. Very common. Because we talk about weather all the time. Raining cats and dogs, raining heavily, under the weather, feeling slightly ill, a storm in a teacup, big fuss over nothing important. Every cloud has a silver lining, something good in every bad situation. Take a rain check, postpone an offer or invitation. Face like thunder, looking very angry.
Weather's a great source of metaphors. How about travel?
Thirst for adventure, strong desire for excitement, off the beaten track, remote, unusual places, have itchy feet, restless desire to travel, get away from it all, escape routine, relax, hit the road, start a journey, hustle and bustle, busy, noisy activity, like in a city. Have some rays, sunbathe, a mile a minute, very fast, talking or traveling, in the same boat, in the same difficult situation. Right up one street, perfectly suited to someone's interests.
Lots of movement there. Idioms about time.
We have many. Round the clock, 2-4-7, all day and night. Call it a day-night, stop working. The moment of truth, a critical deciding point. Donkey's years, a very long time, British. Once in a blue moon, very rarely. Round the corner, very near in time or distance, like clockwork, perfectly regular, predictable. Down to the wire until the very last moment. At the 11th hour, also at the last possible moment. In the nick of time, just barely in time.
We seem obsessed with time. Love and relationships.
Romance. Fall head over heels, fall deeply in love. The apple of one's eye, someone cherished above all others. Wear your heart on your sleeve, show emotions openly, tie the knot, get married. On the rocks, relationship in difficulty. Pop the question, propose marriage. Love rat, an unfaithful partner, negative. Blind date, arranged date with a stranger, plenty more fish in the sea, and many other potential partners available. A match made in heaven, a perfect couple.
From bliss to disaster, opportunities and challenges.
A golden opportunity, a rare and excellent chance. Seeing things through rose-colored tinted spectacles, being overly optimistic, ignoring problems. A gray area, unclear situation, no definite rules. Be caught red-handed, caught in the act of doing wrong. Yellow-bellied or just yellow cowardly, insulting. On a silver platter, getting something very easily without effort.
Interesting mix. Some color idioms, too.
Yep. Green with envy, very jealous. Out of the blue, completely unexpectedly. Colors often have symbolic meanings used in idioms.
Animals seem to inspire loads of idioms.
They do. We use animal behavior metaphorically. Eager beaver, very enthusiastic, hardworking person. Take the bull by the horns, face a challenge directly. Let the cat out of the bag, reveal a secret, until the cows come home for a very long time. Drop like flies, large numbers falling ill or dying quickly. Hold one's horses, wait, be patient. Pig out, eat a huge amount of food, smell a rat, suspect deception or something wrong, ants in one's pants, restless, fidgety, unable to keep still.
Vivid imagery. How about describing people's traits?
Lots here, too. Chatterbox talks nonstop. Loose cannon, unpredictable, potentially dangerous person. Wet blanket spoils fun for others. Blow one's own trumpet, boast about oneself. The salt of the earth, good, honest, reliable person. Fair weather friend, only a friend when things are good. Jack of all trades, master of none, knows about many things, but not an expert in any. Worrywart, constantly worries. Armchair critic, criticizes without having experienced themselves. Free spirit, unconventional, independent person.
Useful labels. Numbers feature too.
Surprisingly often. Dressed to the nines, dressed very elegantly. Put two and two together, figure something out from the clues. In two minds, undecided. 9 to 5, standard office working hours. Back to square one, having to start all over again. The third degree, intense questioning or interrogation. 2 left feet, clumsy, especially at dancing. 2 peas in a pod, very similar. 40 winks, a short nap. Second to none, the very best.
It's amazing how numbers get embedded like that. Finally, food idioms.
Food is fundamental. Bring home the bacon, earn money for the family. One's bread and butter, main source of income. A bad egg, a dishonest or unreliable person. The cream of the crop, the best of a group. Spill the beans or spill the tea more recently. Reveal secret information. Not one's cup of tea. We had this. Not enjoyable. In a nutshell, summarized very briefly. Eat humble pie. Admit you were wrong. Be humiliated. Have egg on one's face. Be embarrassed by a mistake. In a pickle, in a difficult situation.
What a list. 111 idioms. That's a huge resource for learners.
Massive. Even learning a few from each category would make a big difference.
Okay, we're nearing the end of our source material. The final section. Vocabulary related to the human body.
Practical anatomy. Very useful, especially for health contexts.
It really is. Knowing the right words when you talk to a doctor, or even just describe an ache or pain or talk about fitness.
Absolutely. Precision matters here.
Let's go through the body parts, starting with the head.
Okay, we have the obvious forehead. Temples, sides of the forehead. Parts of the ear, like the tragus, that little bump in front of the ear canal, and the earlobe. The top of the head is the crown, covered by the scalp. The back of the head is the occipital region, containing the occipital bone.
Quite specific. Moving to the face. Eyes first.
The colored part is the iris, the black center is the pupil, the white part is the sclera. Then eyelids, eyelashes, eyebrows. The smooth bit between the eyebrows is the glabella. Some people have dimples in their cheeks when they smile.
Nose and mouth area.
Nose has nostrils. The groove between nose and top lip is the philtrum. The shape of the top lip is the cupid's bow, inside the mouth. Gums, the roof or palate, and that dangly thing at the back, the uvula.
A detailed map indeed. Neck and shoulders.
Back of the neck is the nape. The lump in the front, especially on men, is the Adam's apple cartilage protecting the larynx, voice box, which holds the vocal cords. We have the clavicle, collarbone, the big upper back muscle trapezius, and the shoulder blades, or scapulae.
Lots of anatomical terms. The torso, the main body.
Central chest bone is the sternum. Nerve cluster in the upper abdomen is the solar plexus. Side abdominal muscles are the obliques. Belly button is the navel from the umbilical cord. The rib cage protects organs, with the bottom two pairs being floating ribs, not attached at the front. And the spine or backbone, made of vertebrae.
Spine sections?
Cervical, neck, thoracic, upper back, lumbar, lower back. Then the sacrum fused to the pelvis, and the very bottom is the coccyx tailbone.
A mini anatomy lesson. Reproductive system.
The source lists typical female terms: ovaries, uterus, fallopian tubes, cervix, vagina, vulva, and typical male terms: testicles, scrotum, penis. Important, as noted, that these are biological terms and don't always align with gender identity.
Good point. Arms and hands.
Front upper arm muscle, biceps, back upper arm, triceps, lower arm, forearm, wrist bones, carpus, inner hand surface, palm, finger joints, knuckles, tip of the finger, fingertip. Nail itself sits on the nail bed, surrounded by the cuticle.
So many parts just in the hand. Legs and feet.
Front thigh muscles, quadriceps, quads. Back thigh muscle tendons, hamstring. The knee itself containing the kneecap or patella and fluid sacs called bursa for smooth movement. Lower leg. The back muscle is the calf. The front bone is the shin or tibia. Fibula is the smaller bone alongside it. The thigh bone is the femur, longest bone. Back of the ankle. Achilles tendon connects calf to heel. Heel bone, calcaneus. Bottom of the foot, sole with its arch. Padded part behind toes. Ball of the foot, big toe, hallux, little toe, pinky toe.
That's incredibly detailed. Finally, skin and hair.
Skin has tiny openings, pores, oil glands, sebaceous glands producing sebum. We might have freckles, small brown spots or moles, raised spots or birthmarks. Hair grows from a follicle, and that annoying bit of hair that sticks up is a cowlick.
Wow. That is an extensive vocabulary list for the body. Incredibly useful for specific situations.
Definitely. Knowing these terms allows for much clearer communication about health, fitness, injuries. Very practical.
All right, well, believe it or not, that brings us to the end of this truly deep dive into this huge collection of English vocabulary resources.
It's been quite the journey through words.
Thank you so much if you've stayed with us all the way through this very detailed exploration. We appreciate you sticking with it.
Indeed. We know we've covered a massive amount of ground today. It's completely normal if you feel like you need to go back and revisit certain sections.
Please don't feel overwhelmed.
No, not at all. Think of this as a reference point, a resource you can dip back into whenever you need as you continue learning.
And just a quick reminder about those practical tools we mentioned way back at the start, the free PDF ebook with the 600 words and that vocabulary level test.
Yeah, both really valuable. They can help structure your learning going forward. Links for those are in the description below, so do check them out.
Definitely worth a look.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. As you reflect on everything we've discussed, all those phrases, idioms, verbs, body parts, which ones really stood out to you?
Which ones were surprising? Or which ones do you think, I could actually use that?
Maybe this deep dive has sparked your interest in a particular area, perhaps idioms or phrasal verbs or those advanced verbs. Could you explore one of those areas a bit further yourself?
Something to think about. How can you integrate some of this new knowledge into your own English communication?
That's the key, isn't it? Actively using it.
Absolutely.